I tried to learn Obsidian within 4 days. I am brand spanking new to Obsidian. I downloaded Obsidian on May 8th and it's May 10th now. I wanted to get a video out and I figured why not talk about my journey so far with Obsidian. There are just some things lacking in Notion and in my own PC file explorer. That's also not very functional. And I've been kind of organizing a lot of my digital space, cleared up a lot of the junk that was in my folders. We can look at it right now. I got everything categorized. It looks good. It's not bad. If I got some projects, here's my YouTube. Go into there and we go into my scripts or brainstorming or whatever. Okay, let's go into scripts. Then I got my scripts finally. That took so long to get there though. And then now we go into pictures. I got different pictures, different files. Here I got my whips. That's a bit easier, a bit quicker. I can see everything. Okay, but it still took like 3 clicks to get there. Got other platforms here, so we got Patreon, got different things there and folders. This little system here worked for a little bit. I haven't worked on Graph lately because I can't find this seamless, more efficient sort of system that I've been trying to look for, especially when editing videos. My videos section is kind of a mess right now. I tried to organize it into like my series that I'm doing. Here's my growth journey, which is part of this series. So I've got like a couple episodes in there and then we click through, we got audio footage. Media in general is really difficult to sort of navigate because it becomes a mess when you start to duplicate things because one thing can fit into another folder. Excellent video by, I'm gonna put his name, I'm gonna put his info up here. The file system that is on the OS is not great. I tried using Notion to help organize a lot of my life in general as well and my projects and stuff. This is what it looks like right now. I have had a lot of different kinds of dashboards here. This is sort of all of the dashboards I've created. Like, I love Notion and I love how I can make it so aesthetic and pretty, and we can go into some of these. Here is like a schedule one that I made. I was super into this phase of trying to figure out a to-do list or a routine that could work for me. And then I had sections here for certain things and I ended up not really using it too much. I tried to do a brain dump, what's this called, inbox, the whole get things done. I've tried different methods, okay? This section of my goals works still kind of decently. I'm sort of trying to move some things from Notion, but not all things. This dashboard is the OG. It doesn't look like the OG because it's had different sort of changes to it, but where I created most of my original pages. Here I have like inspirational things or kind of more interest stuff. So I've got my library for books that I'm reading or that I'd like to read. I still love the way that I have this set up, so I would not stop using it and just like completely use Obsidian. But I do think Obsidian is good for those more deep reflection of books. If I go in here, I can see that I completed reading this book, and if I click on it, I kind of have a mood board, and then I just kind of gave it a little bit of a review, but that's it. Like, I keep this very minimum, but I would like to eventually have more deeper thoughts about certain books, especially if a book really inspires me. And as a writer, I would like to sort of reflect more on how other people are writing their fiction books and stuff. Then we go into my, like, I call it my boss things, which is anything to do with my studio work, my business. This one was another dashboard I really liked. I think this was the last one I used. I tried to make it a little more simple. 12-week year goals here because I started using that as a way to keep track of my goals, and it worked really well. I also did a good job keeping up with like monthly goals. This is when I used to use my computer quite a lot. And this was another dashboard that I had that I really tried to make it more efficient for my workload. And I had like my inbox for brain dumps, tasks that I needed to do. I would just kind of write down my goals and then I'd move them into these sections. It worked. It's okay. I kind of ended up not using it very much. It worked for a while and then it didn't. And then down here was my like quick links for things that I work, so I just called it my workshop. But there's a quick link to my comic and like the progress that I make. There's a ton of stuff here. This is okay too. I think the problem I have is that sometimes I can't get a bird's eye view of things when I want to, and Notion can't give you a bird's eye view like Obsidian can. Obsidian can link things, it can show things in a big, wider perspective. Things don't have to be hidden in so many different folders to see something, right? So I think that's what appealed me to Obsidian. And so if I do want to be able to get a bigger view on all of my projects or a particular project and see everything within that project, then I'm not having to go into multiple different places. So Obsidian is what I'm hoping can help me keep track of those bigger projects. So we're back to my current Notion dashboard. I just got some Gojo here, got up my favorite playlist for Gojo right now, and my main year's goal. Keeping it super simple here because this is what I'm craving this year, I guess, is just to keep things simple. I just had finals due. I keep track of like my important deadlines here and my classes here, which are complete. School's over. Thankfully. Just simple little to-do list for the day. And then I got quick links to my month's goals, my studio spaces that I use a lot. So this is like, again, my business stuff. And then this here, you're probably wondering what the heck this little thing is. This is just a very simple, quick way for me to keep track of my daily habits, which I also keep track in my journal. So if I don't like keep track of it for a week or two here, it doesn't really matter because I have all of that in my planner. Notion has been really amazing for me for the past couple of years, and I have definitely grown a lot. I mean, I wouldn't be here talking about Obsidian if I hadn't like learned and went through the motions with Notion. You have to figure out a system that works for you, and every single time you do, it's like it just keeps getting to a point where, dang, some things could be better. I'm just trying to optimize my workflow right now. Notion has helped me keep track of tasks and keep track of deadlines. Like, it's good for those kind of things. It's not good for everything. So I do think that Notion is still going to be part of my digital toolkit. Like, I don't want to completely replace it, but I just need to kind of reevaluate what I'm going to be using Notion for and what I'm going to be using Obsidian for. So now you know my journey with Notion, the complications that I would have with it, and kind of why I want to implement using Obsidian in my workflow. I want Obsidian to be more for keeping track of projects, anything that's super kind of more complicated. I tried to learn Obsidian within 4 days. It took me like 2 days watching tutorials, then once I installed it, I immediately got into using it. Through watching YouTube videos and stuff and tutorials, I have seen some people use their Obsidian Vault as like an everything thing. I've seen them use it for just simply note-taking. Like, I'm trying to find a good balance between simple but functional and efficient, and just kind of helps me to streamline my projects. So let's go into a very quick little vault tour of what I've got so far. As you can see, this is not the typical setup for Obsidian. At the end of the day, I'm an artist. I like to have things look pretty and aesthetically pleasing to me. I did get some plugins to help customize the look of Obsidian a little bit. Now, these are the plugins I'm using. I'm trying to just keep it limited at most, hopefully 10 plugins. They literally make using Obsidian a lot easier. Like this editing toolbar, it makes it easier to highlight it, and then I can just change the format of it that I want in there. Bada bing, it's done. If you've never used Obsidian and you're new like I am, don't let this intimidate you, because honestly, I was intimidated for a long time. I was horrified whenever I'd see Obsidian videos. I kept telling myself, well, yeah, that's not for me. That's way too complicated. I think that Obsidian is good because it can be what you make it. It can be as simple as you want it to be, or as complicated as you want it to be. I will brief you on what is happening here. If you've read this, you already know, because literally this explains all of my folders and the way that I'm trying to organize this whole vault. There is one folder here missing, which is called my areas. It was supposed to be a folder that had things in it like areas of interest or responsibilities, things that they don't have a deadline, but like I would want my notes to be in a particular area so that way I can easily access it. But then I quickly realized, actually, I probably don't need a folder for that. The less folders I have, the more things will be able to connect to each other a bit better, like especially if I'm linking things and tagging things. I don't technically need so many folders, and I don't want so many folders. That's the point of this, because of this freaking file explorer in Windows. I'm sick of folders. But I did kind of move my areas over to bookmarks because I realized that you could use bookmarks kind of like folders. So you're studying Korean. Now I can put Korean in there, and then I could put Spanish in there and whatever other language I want to learn. And then in these folders, I could add more folders. Once I've created a note or created a document, then I can just bookmark it, place it in here. The point would be that anything I create, it goes into this catch-all folder. Obsidian has this thing where you can do daily notes. I installed this little calendar plugin, and so I can just click, like I can click on this, and then it creates one. But I don't know why this is saying it doesn't exist. Oh, it's because I renamed it to log 1. I guess you can't rename daily notes because then it won't show up down here anymore. Create daily notes, and I create it, it'll show up in my reflection logs. I didn't realize that if I renamed it, it would disappear from the calendar down here. See, I'm learning, I'm figuring things out, and you're here on the journey. The reason why reflection logs are so important to me is because I can find breakthroughs through my thought processes. I usually do this in my journal, but I do think it'll be really, really good to do this here as well. And then I'd be able to get a more broad perspective and tie things together. Maybe one day write a big guide for myself, kind of putting together all these breakthroughs that I've had, because it's like I'm understanding myself and my mind. So that's why I have that. So next here we've got whiteboard. I'm using 𝒸𝓃𝓃𝓈. I'm going to be using it for inspiration, for projects, ideas. And then here inbox, it's the same thing I had in Notion, but I'm not too sure if this is going to work out too well. We'll see. And then here I've got numbers 1 to 3 kind of indicate my current projects. I'm trying not to have too many projects that I'm working on. 3 indicate very long-term projects that don't really have a deadline. Right now, here in my Haven Doom story, I've got scripts for the comic and then chapters for the novel. And I'm using long-form plugin to keep track of chapters and stuff. And then I'll eventually get into characters and world building and all that too. This is for an animation, my YouTube branding stuff. Like these are number 1 is for short term, like it should not take that long, maybe a couple months. And 2 is for medium term. There's not much to look at. I did make some more stuff here in my Haven Doom folder. I added some more scripts here. You can go into here and see like kind of what it looks like. It's just literally just lines of the comic, the dialogue. You can go into my novel and switch in here. This is what it looks like. I got my arc timeline here. We got like the beginning arc and then arc 1, and I just have things under it of what is happening within those arcs, and it allows me to see sort of the entire timeline for the story. I do have this completely done. It's just sitting in a document, and it's nice to have it with my comic just like all in one folder, and I can see everything. It's gonna be cool, and I'm really excited to move more stuff in here. For resources, this is basically going to be a place where I make fully fleshed out sort of guides for myself, or fleshed out notes, kind of like essays, I guess, at that point. So I'm gonna make my own guide for Obsidian and see what's working for me. But the dummy notes here is essentially my really messy, scrappy notes that I'm taking while I'm watching tutorials or looking at articles. And then once this is done and I feel like I've had enough sort of stuff in here, then I can go back into this and open a new tab, and then I can bring it over to the side. And just like that, I can now reference my Obsidian scrappy notes and then make a really good sort of more polished up guide here. And I could always reference this for when I want to go back to something that's like, wait, how do I do that one thing again? I could take a dummy note, make a new dummy note, and then leave it in here. And when it's done, create the guide, put it in there. And then I don't need the dummy note anymore, and I can just move the dummy notes into the catch-all. Does that make sense? My thought process here, like, it's so much fun. I did move my reflection logs here into catch-all. It's gonna start to fill up with a lot of reflection logs if I keep it up, so I can just click down here, make a reflection log, it'll go in there, it'll still be in my catch-all. And then I moved it over here to be categorized within month, so I did move that. I'm excited to see the potential of what my Obsidian vault will turn into. The next thing I'd like to attempt to do is to get something to help with my actual file explorer problem. So I will be keeping up with Syntax file tagger system program that he's making, but there's also a program called Eagle that could help with these as well. And I think if I just used it for my media, like my pictures and videos and music, organize those things a bit more, whereas Obsidian will help to organize any documents that I have. I hope this was somewhat helpful, or like you can see a bit of an insight into my thought process in terms of trying to create a nice seamless workflow as a creator. This will not be my last video in regards to Notion and Obsidian, because even though I'm not trying to be like a productivity channel, I do think that as an artist and as a creator, there seems to be some lack in how other artists and creators manage their workflow and their planning systems. It's good to get those kind of insights. I do hope to make more updates in the future and kind of tweak things around based off of whatever is not really working very well for me, and just trying to find the most optimal sort of methods. Even though nothing is going to be perfect, and again, the more you grow and learn, the more things start to change for you in terms of how you want to work. And that's okay, because things evolve the way that you evolve. If you enjoyed the video, do stick around, leave a comment, leave a like. Subscribing is very easy. All you gotta do is just sign a contract and sign over your soul to me. It's not hard. But with that being said, I will see you on the other side. Cheers.